Well done, well done. Keep it up. Awesome. All right, so now we're going to have a look and understand. Remember, we're chatting about email now. Email is fantastic, but because it's part, don't ever forget, this is the important thing to remember, is never forget that email is just one facet, it's one part, an important part. I mean, that's the reason we've got a whole module on email. So it's a very important part of a multi-channel communication strategy, but it's not the only part. We have got to understand that a multi-channel communication strategy is integrated. So social selling might precede an email. So you might create an article that you'll put on a group, or an article that you'll email via LinkedIn to somebody. So you'll possibly use social selling, or you might send somebody a WhatsApp message. You know your industry, you know your markets, you know your customers. So you know what will work best. You have to understand that email, as I'm going to remind you again, email is just one facet of your multi-channel communication strategy. Think about how you can leverage all of the assets, all of the different channels that that we've spoken about previously. How can you leverage all of the other channels to support your emails? Or how can you use emails as an integral part of the rest of the process? But you've got to think, not in isolation. Don't think of just sending emails, or just social selling, or just the telephone, or just face-to-face meetings, or whatever else you're going to be using, other digital methods that you might use to communicate. You've got to think of how can you bring it all together. So imagine how easy it'll be for your future customers to receive an email from a trusted advisor. In other words, if you've met that person at a face-to-face networking event where they've seen, my word, this guy really knows what he's talking about. Maybe, how about if you even spoke at that networking event where they had an opportunity to see your expertise, right? So maybe you've met them at a networking event. Maybe you've sent them, you've commented on their blog, so that they've gone. Maybe they followed from a group or something from LinkedIn, or maybe you ran a Facebook advert where they went, wow, this is very connected to what the challenges are I'm experiencing. And they've come through to you through social selling. So you really need to let those creative juices flow, and you need to think about, how can I exhibit my expertise? How can I become thought of as a trusted advisor, okay? You could also be thought of as someone they have begun to recognize as an expert due to the great comments and insights that you've added on their blog, etc. So really let those creative juices flow. And most importantly, of course, email is a very, very, very important part of any digital or multi-channel communication strategy, but it's not the only part. You need to understand that none of these can work successfully in isolation. Once you start leveraging the power of each of them, it becomes really, really easy to close sales.